Greetings to all of you. In this Unit 6, we are going to learn about Wilfred Owen, Anthem for Doom Youth. So, before learning about this poem, we are going to learn about his biography, Wilfred Owen's biography. He was an English poet and soldier. His family shuffled between Birkenhead and Shrewsbury during his childhood. So he lived in two cities, Birkenhead and Shrewsbury, in his childhood. He was educated at the Birkenhead Institute and the Shrewsbury Technical School. He was raised as an Anglican. Anglican means you know that they always follow the religious values. He was a devout believer in his youth. He lost faith in the church because of its ceremony and failure to help those in need. So he did not have the interest to become a follow the moral religious value, and also he had the faith in religious value, but he started to ignore the faith in church because they followed some complex ceremonies and they did not help to the poor people. So he enlisted in the Artist Rifles Officer Training Corps when war broke out. So he had really not interested to the church. So he became as a soldier because in that time there was war also broke out. He trained at Harhall camp in Essex and commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Manchester regiment. He became a soldier. When with a trench mortar hitting him, he was sent to the Craigo Lahore War Hospital in Edinburgh for treatment. So in the war, he had a injury, so he wanted to take treatment. He was sent to the Edinburgh hospital. He met poet Siegfried Sasson, whose realism and the romanticism of Keats Shelley influenced his poetry as a great deal. When he was admitted in the hospital, he met poet Siegfried Assassin. So because of his technique, realism and the romanticism of Keats and Shelley, he also wanted to become a poet. He got influenced and he wanted to become a great poet. Historians regard Owen as a leading poet of First World War. He is famous for his war poetry on horrors of trench and gas warfare. So you know that he was a soldier. He got impressed with the poets Keats and Shelley's realism and romanticism. So he wanted to become a poet. He was a famous poet for the war. He wrote his main focus theme was war. His best-known works are "Thus et Decorum Est", "Insensibility", "Anthem for Doomed Youth", "Futility", and "Strange Meeting". He was shot and killed because he was a soldier. His death was really cruel. He was shot and dead. He lived only for 25 years. The British poet Wilfred Owen became one of the most well-known war poets. A English lyricist who wrote the experiences in impression during World War One. We know that he was poet. He was a soldier. So what was his main theme in his poem about the war? So he expressed. We wanted to express his experiences and also impression when he worked for World War One. 4 months at war, he needed to grasp his subject, which was not the heroism war, but the pity of it. So he did not like war. He thought that it is not really good to have war. He wanted to say about the pity side of war. He was born in Overstreet, England on March 18, 1893. Owen was the eldest of four children raised by parents of modest means. So, his father held a job with the railway. His mother was strict in religious belief. In their Anglican household, Owen and his siblings were well versed in biblical themes and teachings. So he must taught all these religious things. Although by 20th year Owen would renounce his evangelist faith, Christian imagery remained strong in imagination and often registered prominently in his poetry. Because he was taught all this religious belief, he used some Christian imagery and he used in his poems. Owen's family moved to Birkenhead in 1897. We are learning about his biography. And from 1900 to 1907, he attended the Birkenhead Institute. A subsequent move to Shrewsbury prompted his transfer to the Shrewsbury Technical Schools at the age of 14. So his life, how did he learn? When did he? Where did he completed his schooling? So we are learning about that. By this time, Owen had already felt the full towards poetry, and his mother warmly encouraged his ambition. When he was child, he tried to write some poems, poetry. His mother also encouraged. But when he became a soldier, when he was injured, he got admitted in a hospital. At that time, he met. We know the story. He met. Great poet, so that he got impressed, and he got impressed the realism romanticism of Keats and also Shelley, so that he started to write poems. We know the story, and we are learning about his where did he complete his schooling, everything. He studied botany at the University College. A shortage of money for tuition fees eventually forced Owen to withdraw. However, and in 1911 he sought work at Vicarage and Dunstan. But he was not able to get his degree because he was not able to go to settle his money. So he got the job, a vicarage in Dunstan. He got admitted for his degree, but he was not able to complete that. He lived town near Reading. He lived there for 18 months as a pupil and a lay assistant to Reverend Herbert Beacon. So he was an student in there, and he was an assistant, lay assistant to Reverend Herbert Beacon. At the parish, he worked with the sick and elderly, the illiterate and destitute, developing a compassion that later of both soldiers and poet. At that time, when he was working in the town, because in Dunstan, he worked for the people, sick people and elder people, illiterate people. He worked for them, and later he became a soldier. Now we are going to learn about the poem. What pausing bell for this who dies as cattle? Only the monstrous anger of guns. So we know that he was a war poet, so he was writing about the experiences he gained in the war. Only the shuddering riffles rapid rattle can patter about their asti of as arisen. No mockeries now for them, no prayers nor bells, nor any voice of mourning save the cries. The shrill demented cries of wailing shrills, and buggles calling for them from sad shires. What candles may be held to speed them all, not in the hands of boys, but in their eyes, shall shine the holy glimmers of good vice. The pallor of girls' brows shall be their pall. The flowers and the tenders of passion's minds, and each slow, dusky drawing down of vines. So, what does it mean? We know that it is a war poem. So, here he was recovering from shell shock in a Scottish hospital. So, we know that he got injured. He was he was admitted in the Scottish hospital. He was recovering at the year in the 1917. Owen was killed in the battle. After that, he was also killed in the battle. The sonnet form is usually associated with the romance and love. So the poet is being ironic by choosing it. Owen is also being controversial by focusing on the negative aspect of war. So we know that he says that he doesn't support to the war. He always against to the war. He says about the pity side of the war. So he says that it doesn't really, it never helped to the humankind. Now, war never helped the humankind. So he says that woman doesn't back away from the death of young women. He relates it to the mass slaughter of animals. So he says that the human beings are killed like animals in the war. So he did not like this. The poem throughout the compass the death of the soldiers with the traditional funeral diets and ceremonies conducted. So he always compared the death of the soldiers because many soldiers were killed in the World War. So he was really comparing with this in ceremonies. Other critics think that the poem is extra powerful because it raises the important questions often ignored when countries commit to war. Why should so many die in such a hideous way? So we know that. He says that it is a pity side of war. So he says, ask to the many countries that why should we need war? Why should we have many die in the such a Hydas Bay. Why should they? Why should so many soldiers should die in the war? He is asking to the country, blind to the humanity inhumanity of war. So nobody is giving importance that many were killed in the war. So why should we have? We are not focusing that many people are killed. Why should we need the war? He is asking the questions. Anthem for Doom Youth explores the dark side of war, aspect that some would rather ignore or gloss over. The poem's success lies in the stark contrast between the furious. So he says that what is happening in the battle. So what is the reality of the battle? And he says that the calm holiness of the such rituals. So that is two different things are happening. If you go to church, there will be we can enjoy the calm in the church. We can enjoy all the church rituals. But when you are entering into the battlefield, you will have the different reality. So he says that both are really there is the different contrast between both the things. Contrast between a battle and also a church. So what we suggested that we should think that we should avoid the war, and he is always expressing the negative side of darker side of a war in this poem. So finally, summary. Anthem for Doom Youth is sonnet made of 8 plus 6 lines, 14 and act set and set set. It is traditionally romance and love, but has been experienced with over the years. Wilfred Woman wrote several drafts of this sonnet before finally choosing the version with the rhyming scheme ABAC DCDE FFEGG.